All right, and we are live. It is showtime. How's it going, everyone? And welcome to a brand new special edition of 27 Outs Live here tonight on this lovely Monday night. I, of course, am Ivan alongside my partner here, my brother, whatever you want to call him, but he goes by the name of Stefan. Here we are yet again. For those of you who have been paying attention, this is actually our second episode within the past week. I know you guys are like, wait, what do you mean? Today's Monday. It's the start of a brand new week. Well, if you've been paying attention, you would have seen that we put out an episode Thursday night. I was sick. That's the reason why we had to record on that Thursday night. But life is back to normal. I'm good. Make sure you guys go ahead and check that out if you haven't seen it yet. But as you can tell, by just simply viewing your screens right now, today's a special edition of the show because we have a fellow sports journalist. Her name is Micahya Costen. It kind of feels like we know exactly who she is behind the scenes. And it's funny you laughing, Stefan, because you know exactly what I mean. Micahya, I'm sure you also know what I mean when I say that. But we just simply support each other, right? Micahya is somebody who we met via social media. Shout out to social media, man, because there's some great things that you could do with it, right? But yes, Micahya, before we get into what we want to talk about here tonight, as you guys can tell, that includes the Braves, your love for the game of baseball, which is extremely rare because you're a woman and, baseball is a sport that even a lot of guys don't like to watch, right? So to know that you're a woman who not only loves the game but covers the game, we want to get into that. And then also some of the things that you do on social media, because as I just said a few seconds ago, that's how we met, right? And I constantly see a lot of the things that you post. You've actually shown us some love, so we appreciate that. Stefan, how you feeling? Micahya, how are you feeling? Stefan, whenever you want to start the show, get it rolling, and I'll follow your lead.
I'm good, brother. I'm good. Micahya, you are very special because two things are happening right now. We're interviewing you, but NBA free agency is happening right now. So my phone's buzzing over here, and I'm talking to you guys tonight. But I gotta ask this first question. Fun one. Out the gate. First trip to Truist Park. What was that like? What do you remember from it? What is something that you wish other people would learn about the ballpark that you discovered on your many trips to the ballpark?
Wow, that's a good question. So my first trip to Truist Park, because I remember when they were playing at Turner Field when I was like really young, so I guess I kind of don't remember that. But in Truist Park, I remember just being there and seeing the whole aspect of the Battery and SunTrust Field, and I was like, wow, this is a whole like shopping plaza, a whole little mini town. And that was my first trip there with my family. It was probably I want to say maybe a decade or so ago. But my first trip this year as a journalist at Truist Park was so eye-opening and just I couldn't believe it. I had to keep pinching myself. We talked a little bit about it earlier before we got on here, how surreal this experience was. I think everything just happened so fast. Probably go into that, but just being out there, being able to be near the players, being able to be on the field, feel the turf, and just watching take BP was so amazing feeling. I can't really think of another word to explain it, but it was really fun, really enjoyable, and just felt like a dream.
Right. I think that's a great way to start, honestly. But I want to lead into, what I think is the start of perhaps, where you are today and who you are, right? In terms of what you do on social media and outside of social media, because I know off the internet, baseball, I'm sure, plays a big role in your life as well. So I want to start it off by asking you, where does baseball, or when I should say, when did baseball become a thing? Do you remember who introduced it to you? And walk us through that.
That's a really great question that also leaves a really great story. So let's see. I'm gonna try not to be too wordy with it. I know I can get a little bit off rails. But yeah, so growing up, my dad was really big in taking me and my family to different sporting events. I'm the oldest of 9 siblings in total. And yeah, so it was me, and for a while just me and 3 brothers. So of course, naturally, all the sports they was playing and they wanted to do, of course I wanted to do. They're playing basketball, sign me up for basketball. And then once they started, and we went to a few baseball games, a few Braves games, but once they started playing baseball, I think I was around 14 or 15. I was like, oh, I didn't really know how to play. I just knew, okay, hit the ball, home run, round the bases, okay. But once I started actually watching them play, I was like, that's kind of fun. I kind of want to see if I could get on there.
Right.
See if I can get in on that action. So a few years later, my parents let me play softball, and I thought I was gonna be so good. I had in my mind like I'm gonna be the next Monet Davis. I'm gonna be up there just hitting. They're gonna put me on the baseball team. Like I'm too good. So I ended up playing softball. Couldn't get a hit. I will say I wasn't a good hitter. Wasn't good at the plate, but I did play good third base. I think so.
Wow.
And in another life, I see myself as a pitcher. So there's that. But overall, I think that was my first introduction to baseball in general, like how to play the actual rules of the sport in a base level, foundation level. But then I didn't really stick with it. I ended up doing cheer my senior year of high school, and then didn't end up playing any sports after that. Volleyball was my main sport. But yeah, that was kind of it as far as me playing sports. But then once I went to college at the University of Georgia, I was really interested. Of course, we're a football town, so college football is our first priority. And we're
Bulldogs.
to like it. Go Dogs. But after a while, when baseball season started, I was like, oh, I kind of want to check out a few of the baseball games. I think it'll be kind of fun. So me and a friend ended up going to a few games. Sometimes I would go on my own. I just like the vibe of going to the games, the SEC experience, and just watching our team. Even though when I first watched them, we weren't that good. And then we ended up getting Wes Johnson from LSU after they won the College World Series that year. He ended up coming in and coaching and taking over, and we did a lot better. Charlie Condon, I think I'm pronouncing his name right. Hopefully, he plays for the Rockies now. Was one of the players on the team when he took over. So that was really fun to watch him rake out there. But yeah, so I really enjoyed it, but I still only knew like base level. I just knew I enjoyed watching the game, enjoyed going with friends, enjoyed going on my own. It just was a really fun game to watch. Around this time, I decided to go ahead. I think I just changed my major to journalism, but I wasn't sure which journalism aspect I wanted to do. And so once I chose sports, I was like, okay, what sport? Does it have to be one sport? Does it have to be I work for a team? Do I have to work for a particular sport or media company? So I was still kind of all over the place of which one I wanted to target. So I was interested in any of them. My first time ever covering a game, though, was in my sports media certificate class. Shout out Carmichael Sports Media Institute at UGA. We would cover the Braves AAA affiliate team, the Gwinnett Stripers. And I was so nervous. I was like, oh my gosh, like I only know like the base level of baseball. I don't know about the stats and like the correct terminology. Like I don't want to write. What is she talking about? She doesn't know ball. So I was a little nervous, but I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed just being in that atmosphere, having credentials, being up there in the press box. I went down there at the time. Their manager was Matt. I always butcher his last name, but it was the Braves' former third base coach just a few months ago, Matt Tuiasosopo.
Tuiasosopo? Yes.
There we go. Yes.
Tuiasosopo. Yes.
Yes. I interviewed him when he was their manager. Well, it was a class interviewing, but I jumped out and said, let me ask the first question. I want to make sure I get in there.
Right.
And I was able to write the story from there. I was like, that was kind of fun. I kind of want to do it again. But fast forward later, last year, I graduated from UGA and no job.
Congrats.
Thank you. No job offers. I applied so many places, tried so hard for different companies, basketball, football, baseball, you name it, even volleyball, softball. And I was like, okay, something has to catch. Like I have a decent resume, I think, UGA, like, come on, guys. So I think I was just in a waiting period where I was like, I'm not hearing anything from anybody. So my parents kind of talked to me about it, like, okay, maybe you should start, doing your own little thing, your own media thing. We see girls do it all the time. People do it all the time on social media. Didn't know what I wanted my TikTok page to be. Originally, I think I had it as a barista. I was a barista at Starbucks for.
So your parents spoke you into that. That's interesting because
a
lot of parents, I would say for the most part, and not that parents don't do this at all. Kudos to your parents actually for doing that with you.
I mean,
but
really?
I think most parents, Stefan, I'm sure you would agree with this. They would want you to refrain from that, because they're probably catching on to the fact that maybe it's not working out, despite
Yeah.
your
Maybe
love
this
for
isn't
it,
it for you. Yeah.
and things along those lines. But I also wanted to mention something else, Stefan. I know you have another question, but you mentioned journalism, right? And that's a big word here on 27 Outs, not only for you, especially because you're here tonight with us, but for Stefan and myself, because Stefan and I actually met in college as journalism majors. So it's funny how you're sharing your story. You mentioned journalism, and right away, I figured why not share with you how it is that we met as well.
Yeah, that's really. What school did you guys go to?
So we at the time when we met, we were at a community college, Kingsborough Community College, which is in Brooklyn, and we I was at the radio station already. I had just started at the station, and this guy comes in, and we just hit it off. Like, he sat in on a couple of our recordings, and we were talking about everything at the time: football, basketball, baseball. We even had a little soccer segment we would do. I had nothing. I knew nothing about it. I had a cheat sheet. Like, I felt like really, really like, this ain't it for me. And then we just met through like a mutual love of baseball. Like, we sat there, and I make a joke. I don't know if you ever heard the saying, like, you ever see a movie or album when they leave songs on the cutting room floor that don't make the album, don't make the movie?
Mm-hmm.
Me and this dude have left hours of baseball content on the cutting room floor of our college radio station. We would sit there and like go through lineups, go through different situations, go through front offices, go through all different types of thing. And you sit there and you're like, damn, like, we're leaving so much here. And that's when we decided to do a show. And our friendship was forged through our love of the game and our love of being on the mic. So it's funny you say journalism, because we literally had the same professors at different times, obviously, and have like different stories, but the same type of story, if that makes sense. We call them war stories because our professors got us ready for this.
Yeah.
They got us ready. They pushed us. And so it's funny you talk about journalism. It is amazing that we're sitting with a fellow journalist and you're doing what you're doing now, which gives us hope. Kids, journalism is not dead.
It's not.
Pursue those dreams. You can make it. Look, the three of us, we're here doing it, and we're journalism majors.
There you go. Journalism is such a small world too. It's like really interesting to see how people met and just can form connections through journalism, because that's really what it is when it comes to like applying to jobs or just like getting certain opportunities or even finding your people to create, a podcast like this. It's really just about forming connections and then just building upon that. So journalism is such a neat niche major to have. My parents actually talked me into doing that. Originally, I didn't want to be a journalism major, even though I always loved to write and I always really liked sports. I was a bio major to start off with. Funny.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
completely different thing. Bio major freshman year, I changed it to game design because I wanted to do graphic design and user interface experience design. And I'm still good at it, but I don't think I was really passionate about it. There's some things where it's like, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Just because you like it doesn't mean it has to be your main thing. It could just be like a hobby. And I think that's what it turned into for me. And so once I was at Georgia, my dad was like, or I think I took either my mom or my dad, and I took like a kind of test to see like what major I should stick into based off like my interests. And it was saying journalism, but I was like, I don't want to take an extra year if I switch my major to journalism. But it ended up being one of the greatest decisions I've made because I met so many great people, so many great experiences, and learned a lot through journalism. So yeah, it worked out nice.
So I have to ask, right? Because your parents were a big part of you, going into journalism and
major part,
doing things like that. So what was the first thing that your parents bought you as a gift to help you get started on your career? What was the first journalism? We call them tools of the trade. What was your first tool? What was the first thing that they bought you and said, this is going to be helpful in your journalism career?
Ooh, that's a good question. Besides tuition for those classes.
Hey, tuition's a lot. Listen, if that would have been your answer, I would have understood that too.
Besides helping pay for the classes, I would probably have to say the laptop. I had my own laptop, but it kept glitching. So my dad ended up buying one, or he had one that he lent to me and let me use it because he couldn't figure it out, and he had a different one, so he let me use the laptop, and that's where I write most of my stories. So it's mine now. And I'm sure there's other things. I can't think of what else, but I know the laptop for sure is one of the main things that that's really helpful because I literally had to use or rent out a laptop from my school's tech lending center because like the whole semester because my laptop was so glitchy and acting up. So this was very helpful to get this one.
Wow.
And I did get opportunities to join podcasts or start a podcast or even write stories. Like I have something set up and I don't have to worry about buying it. So it was nice. I didn't that was worked out for me.
All right,
So,
real
go
quick.
ahead.
I got one question. This is a fun one. Since you're a writer at heart, what are your favorite stories to write? Is it more stat based? Is it more human interest? What is Micahya writing about when she's trying to get into the journalism bag and she's trying to find something that is unique to yourself? What are we writing? Are we writing about human interest or are we writing about the games, the statistics? What are we diving into when we start typing on the laptop?
Ooh, great question. I like human interest profile stories for the most part. I like humanizing the players. Whatever sport I've covered, usually every time I would get a profile story, I'd be like, yes, I can really tap into their mind, I can interview them and actually get to know them and get a connection with that. Then, of course, like the stats and then the gameplay, all that can follow and it can get tied into the story in some kind of way because it does play a big part in their identity on the court or field. But I really do like the human interest part of it because then you're able to connect and relate to that player and the athlete and just kind of see them on a whole different level than when you're watching them actually do their gameplay. So the human interest profile stories is definitely my cup of tea, my go-to. I get excited every time I get assigned to write one.
So I know you're. I mean, listen. When it comes to journalism, as you were just talking about a couple minutes ago, I feel like nowadays you have to be a jack of all trades, right? Whereas back then, if you only focused on one or two things, that was perfectly fine and normal then, because at the time there were openings for so many different positions. Whereas today, I kind of feel like when you're in this field, especially after college, a lot of these companies are expecting you to be able to write, be able to edit. I mean, you name it, the list goes on, right?
Mm-hmm.
But since you have to do all of these things, and we know what it's like because it comes with the territory, especially when you're a journalism major. But do you prefer more of the writing? Do you prefer more of the creating content on social media? And the reason why I ask that is, for example, for myself, and this may surprise you guys, but I despise the whole writing aspect. And that's literally like the foundation of journalism, right? Writing is what it really boils down to. But thankfully, I was born later in life where you could be so good at so many other things while still focusing on the writing, because I think if you can't write, then I simply just don't know how it's going to work out at the end of the day. But
Mm-hmm.
what is your preference? Is it writing? Is it being in front of a camera? Is it being on the mic?
If you asked me this like 3 months ago, I would have said being in front of the camera and on the mic. Like I mentioned earlier, I've always been even writing like creative stories. Like I've always been a writer at heart. And then once I started getting into it with school, I kind of got tired of it, especially like senior years, about to graduate. I feel like I was getting so many writing assignments piled on me. I was like, I don't think I like writing anymore. This is too much. I'm good. I'm good on this. My last article I'm writing.
Right.
So I didn't really like it as much anymore. But I think once I stepped away from it, I started realizing the type of writing I like to do. So once I started getting into baseball and got assigned to go ahead and cover the Braves for a few games and write, that excitement and spark came back, and I was like, oh, like this is what the point was. This is what it's supposed to feel like. So I've been enjoying it ever since then, which was really earlier this year. So to answer your question, I guess a little bit of both because I really do like write. I feel like I can get all of my words down on the page if I can't say them. But then also sometimes it's nice to have a nice summary and just stand in front of the camera and just practice on my speaking skills and just enunciation or just giving people a story if they don't want to read it. So I guess it's a nice alternative to have if you don't want to read a whole article. I can just say it in short form. So I don't know if it answers your question, but a little bit of both. I like writing, but I also like I like writing when it comes to writing about the game and even profile stories as well or stats. But then when it comes to speaking in front of the camera, I like just giving a full overview and basis of what happened. So kind of like a little summary. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand exactly what you mean. And Stefan, you could attest to this because we've had conversations about content that's longer versus content that's a little shorter. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously what we're doing right now is the long form content, right? Like we're going to be here for some time. We're chatting about everything, which is great because we have people who actually show up and enjoy the show, right? Whether they comment or not, I get it. Not everybody is talkative, you know,
Right.
especially
Yeah.
when it comes to social media.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason why I say that is because one thing that we do now, because we've been out now for about a year and a half, not overall, because if you really go back to when 27 Nows genuinely started, that's going back to 2016. But when it comes to actually creating a brand, you know, having it on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, you know, the whole 9 yards, it's been about a year and a half. And now in 2025, you know, we've gotten into like, you know, we've gotten accustomed to putting out shorts because we understand not everybody's going to want to watch, you know, an hour
Long
long
form
interview, an
content.
hour long show. But there's everybody, right? Because even we do it. You do it, Micaiah, Stefan do it. What do we do right before we go to bed or when we wake up in the morning? We're scrolling. Now,
Yeah.
listen, whatever it is that you may be into, it
Yep.
may vary depending on who you speak to, right? But most people enjoy the 30-second clips, 1 minute clip, 2 minute clips. So we try to do both. So I know exactly what you're getting at when you say that.
Yeah, and it's a nice way to kind of like show a different side of creativity, especially like you said, in journalism, you kind of have to learn how to be a jack of all trades. Where yeah, there's writing, but then when it comes to making video, you have to learn how to cut packages. You have to learn how to maybe add some graphics or edit or kind of like microphone techniques. So it's nice to kind of put that into practice as well. So that way, I guess other people are seeing that okay, she doesn't just sit in front of a green screen and talk. Like she can also like put I guess different clips on there. She can also like have different highlights or have different words or sound effects. So it's nice to try to like tap into that creativity aspect of it. And then with writing, it's like a whole different. I guess it's a split mindset type thing with journalism. I guess.
Yeah, you got to be able to do a little bit of everything, and like I was joking about before we went live is like, so Ivan's he's the tech guy, but I'm the newsbreaker guy, right? So it's like it kind of works because I'll put something out, we talk about it, or I'll put a post up on the TikTok or the socials, and we'll talk about it amongst ourselves. And how do we incorporate these things into the show? Like the things that come out, how do we give our take to it? Because the one thing that we are all learning, and I'm sure you deal with this, Micaiah, me and Ivan are learning this in real time as we're going. Everybody's opinions nowadays seem to be uniform. So when you have a uniform that's a little, an opinion that's a little off the beaten path, people look at you and go, "Wait, he said what? Why did he go there? Why did he mention this? Why did he have this idea in his head?" And most times I just think it's good to have a different perspective. Now, the reason why I'm going to mention the different perspective is like, what is it like being in a male dominated industry at your age? Because you're much younger than we are. I'm not going to put your age out there. Don't worry.
It's
You're
okay.
much younger than we are. And you start to realize, wow, I'm young, but I'm also a woman. So it's a lot that goes into doing this at a certain age, being, in this industry. Have you ever sat back and asked yourself, like, damn, I'm actually doing this. Like I'm achieving a dream. Like not very many people can say they covered the Braves. You can say that at your young age, and that's pretty incredible. So do you ever sit back and pinch yourself like, damn, I just covered a Braves Philly series at Truist. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, I think right after that series, I woke up. I was so tired because I think it was that last game and went into extras, and it was like a 2 hour rain delay,
Oof.
and we ended up winning that game in that series, and that was our first series win of the season, finally. And I woke up or went home that night, and I was telling my parents about it all, and I just could not sleep. I was like, wow, That was amazing. I can't believe I just went
incredible.
through all that. And the more I did it, the more comfortable I felt. Like obviously the first time I get there, I'm like, oh my gosh, like all these guys are here and the clubhouse, you know, and the players are walking around changing and they're talking and they're in their element. I'm like, do I just walk up to them? Like, what do I do? And then the second day, I'm like, okay, I'm feeling a little bit more chill. I'm walking in, strutting in a little bit.
Mhm.
Get a little bit more excited, getting the feel, lay of the land. Then the third day, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna walk up to them and say, hey, I have some questions when I have a talk. So I think one, and then also I think it made it easier that when I went to the press box, the people around me, the other journalists around me, Dave O'Brien, Mark Bowman, the names are blanking from my head.
You just mentioned two. You just mentioned two OGs. You good?
Yes,
Dave O'Brien and Mark Bowman. You didn't have to go no further than that. You mentioned
Grant
two
McCauley.
OGs.
Yes, they
Yes.
literally like was super nice. They was just I was asking for advice. They was just talking, hey, welcome in. I was like, wow, like everybody seemed very just chill. They didn't seem like, what's she doing here? Like it was like, and I don't know what's what anybody says behind closed doors, but it's nice that I felt welcome. I didn't feel like I shouldn't be here. Like, no, it felt nice. I saw actually a post by Kamala Harris a few weeks ago or last week when she was saying that the opportunities and the doors that she's been able to step into, she's always felt like she deserved to be there. So everybody else might look at me like, how did she get there? But I feel like wherever I am, wherever I put my mind to, I deserve to be there. And I was like, wow, that's exactly the mindset I need to have about it. Like, I deserve to be here. No matter what happens, no matter, where I end up going, like, I feel like I worked hard and deserve to be here just as much as everybody else, and now they may put more years in, of course, and have more of a status and have more, I guess, relativity, but I'm, getting to that point or trying to get to that point. And I feel like we're all on the same playing field, all covering the same thing and enjoying the sport that we love. So,
yeah, that's great. Cause the one thing, and the three of us could attest to this, like the one thing that you got to have, especially when you do what we do, is confidence, right? Cause if you don't, even if it's just an ounce, cause if you lack it completely, then I think the three of us could agree that you just simply can't be in journalism, right? That's just how it goes, right? But I know you were just talking about what you do in terms of covering the Braves and what it's been like, since you've been there, meeting people who do the same just as you, but who have been doing it for longer. Stefan, you mentioned OGs. But I gotta ask you, the Braves are your favorite team, one, right? And two, what about the Braves? I mean, I think it's time we get into what the Braves are looking like in 2025, right? So, and you might be able to, spill some tea on something, right? So if there's anything that you could share with us live on the show, feel free to do so, because not only do Stefan and I want to know, but I think our viewers as well, too.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, I wish I had tea to give you guys. The only thing I can say is Jurickson Profar is coming back on Wednesday from his PED suspension. So there is that. Yeah. Not really tea. I guess most people knew that. So I was like, well, I guess I'll just say that. But yeah, he's coming back. So that should be a nice, and he's a switch hitter. So that should be a nice spark in the lineup. But again, our offense is the main thing this year. And it was last year too. But last year, I think it was a lot of injuries that played a part of it. So, and we still ended up making it to the wild card for postseason. This year, I really don't know. We started off 0-7, as you know, and no team in modern day baseball has ever made the postseason with that type of start. Yeah. We could be the first. I have hope and I have faith that we could be. We just can't keep playing the way we've been playing. We have to be a little bit more consistent. I think that when our offense is hot, we are looking like the Braves that everybody was expecting to see. But then we have these inconsistencies where we're taking one step forward and then two steps backward. We may win a series, we may win a game in a series, and then lose dramatically in the next two games. Right. It's like we can't keep playing like that. We're hoping that right now. I think we're 10. I think we are
10.5 back, I believe. 10.5 back is what I just saw. You could double check that just to be safe. But, 10.5 back is what I saw earlier today. So here's my question, like piggybacking off of that. You're 10.5 back. It is as of this recording, it's June 30th. The trade deadline is a month away.
Yeah.
If you're sitting in Alex Anthopoulos' office right now, the general manager and president of the Braves, what is the first thing you're doing? Because as I told you before the show started, and this is where I'm going to spill the name, There's one person I would have traded for sure until he got hurt, and the name was Chris Sale.
Okay.
If you're Alex Anthopoulos, knowing that's off the table now, who is the next person you're trying to move to either get some value back or to set yourself up for the next era of Braves baseball if it's not with this group?
Right. And it's funny you mentioned Chris Sale because he did say that he was off the table. I see why you would say Chris Sale. He's definitely a dominant piece. Unfortunately, he's on an IL list right now. Hopefully he gets back because we need dominance in our starting pitching rotation.
Mhm.
But I'm so glad he's not on a chopping block. We need him here. But that would have been a strong piece. For
Mhm.
if I was in Alex Anthopoulos' office and I had to find someone, honestly, I might have to say Azuna.
Mm.
But for who, I don't know because he's a strong piece. He just hasn't really been playing up to that this year. He had a very few clutch moments during the season. And again, we're already a little past the halfway mark during the season. So it's not
Right.
this whole thing of it was so early. No, we're getting in there now.
Right.
He had a few clutch moments, but just not enough to really make a big difference in our offense in his position. So I would probably say we'll have to go ahead and give up Marcel.
Marcelo's
It's
so
funny you say that because here on the show, we actually have talked about that. I think a couple of times. Stefan is the guy here on the show, and I think the people who watch us could actually agree with this as well. But Stefan is the guy who, like, before like things are even being talked about in mainstream media, especially when it comes to deals and other things as well. He likes to kind of like sprinkle out like the possibilities and what to be on the lookout for. And Marcelo Zuna is a name that has come up on the show in terms of possibly being on the move and no longer being with the Braves moving forward.
Yeah.
So I have a piggyback question to that because I'm going to throw something your way, and I don't know if you knew this or not. Has there been discussion if they are thinking about trading him because he does have 10-5 rights? Right? I don't know if you know what that is, but 10-5 rights are he's been in the big leagues for more than 10 years and he's been with the Braves for more than 5.
Right.
So he can veto any trade. He can basically say, "No, I don't want to be traded here."
Right.
Has there been to your knowledge, has anybody from the front office contacted him or his agent or his representatives and said, hey, we're thinking about moving you. Give us a list of the teams you would want to go to, and let's see if we can accommodate one of those teams." Has any of that been discussed to your knowledge?
I have no idea. I wish I did. I don't get that much intel. I am looking out for that information though, because like you said, he's 10-5, and he definitely could go ahead and say no. I don't want to be traded. I want to stay here. I think he does create a nice positive energy on the team in general. As much as he strikes out, he still has a big smile on his face and brings that energy on the team. And then again, he still has some clutch performances, just not often enough. Do I think he'll want to stay? Yeah, I do, but I don't know. I really just don't know if it's going to be enough. I'm not sure. So I think that it's definitely going to be interesting between now and the next 3.5-4 weeks to see what happens with that. I know Alex said we're not trying to be sellers, but I think we talked about this before the live started. We should definitely keep it in our back pocket or maybe move it to the front a little bit because there has to be a little bit of a change. I think he likes to have the nostalgia aspect of it and keeping things the way they were and just trying to spark and work with that. But I think that there's so much that we need. Offense is one thing. I feel like that could fix itself because when we can have clutch moments. Sean Murphy just hit her first grand slam.
I saw that the other night.
Yeah. And then he hit a homer the game right after that yesterday. We didn't win it, but there was that. So there's moments where players will get hot.
Right.
It's not consistent. So that's consistency. Right. And, hitting coach say he's going to try to work with that as well. Try to get even Michael Harris. He's been benched for the past few games, and they're trying to get a way to
get his mind right. Yeah,
right. Get his mind right. Get him because again, the game itself is a mental game, so a lot can really get in your head, especially when you're looking at the numbers and the stats. And I know we mentioned that that's something that we don't try to focus too much on because then it takes the human aspect away from it in a larger spectrum. And I do agree. But if they're looking at that, I think someone mentioned, or yeah, broadcast mentioned that Mookie Betts like to look at his bat tracking, and that's I feel like it's an extra stat. That's something that's extra that's in your head that can kind of mess with your head a little bit while you're at the plate. Like, oh my gosh, how fast is my bat? How is the velocity? What's the exit velo on this? So
Yeah,
it's a lot.
yeah.
But what was the original question? I'm sorry.
No, you
No,
answered
it's okay.
You answered the original question for
I
sure.
I wanted to we don't want to keep you here for too long. Maybe a couple more questions. And also to chat while she's still here. If you guys have any questions, we'll try to grab maybe like 2 or 3 before she goes.
Yes.
And we'll make sure she or at least if she would like to, I can't say we'll make sure, but if Micahya is down to answer a couple of questions, we'll go ahead and do that. So what I do want to get into, I kind of feel like, because I'm not a Braves fan, right? Neither is Stefan, but we watched the game. We are Yankee fans. Yes,
I like the Yankees. They're my second. They're my second team.
Yeah.
We are Yankee fans. But here on the show, this is not like Yankee Central. This is not a Yankee-based show, and we make sure that we emphasize that because we don't want people coming on here thinking that we're two Yankee jerk-offs, right? Because that's how a lot of people view Yankee fans as,
Yeah.
So we always try to remind people like, hey, we'll get into Yankee topics because we cover all 30 teams, right? We talk about damn near everyone. But it's important that we also let people know, like, just because we're Yankee fans, we're gonna tell you the truth. We're not gonna be on whatever it is that you want us to say. But I say that because going back to the Braves, as an outsider, right? As I mentioned, we watch all 30 teams. I kind of feel like for me, and you mentioned it yourself a couple of minutes ago, the 0-7 start. Not too many teams, or no teams rather, are able to bounce back from something like that, as you mentioned. But for me, I kind of feel like you guys were trending upward a little bit, especially when Acuna came back. He's been red hot, one of the best players in baseball, I would say, since he came back from the IL. And then Spencer Strider came back at the same time. And then you had Chris Sale, who we just spoke about, who started the season off, a little rocky, but was looking exactly like the National League Cy Young Award winner, who he was for you guys last season. And ever since then, since he went on the IL, I kind of feel like you guys are going right back to, as you mentioned, you take one step forward, 2 steps back. So have you felt the same? Is that the same thing that you've noticed as not only a Braves fan, but somebody who covers the team? And also other guys haven't really lived up to their potential. Like Michael Harris, he's been dreadful this entire season. He's a guy who I thought was going to be special for you guys. Hasn't really lived up to that. So, talk about that and anything else that you'd like to add on to that as well.
Yeah, I do want to mention, because you mentioned that although y'all are Yankees fans, y'all like to still make sure y'all represent all of the teams, and you don't want this to be, that is kind of how I like my platform to be too. Like, although I'm a Braves fan, like you guys, I talk about Tarek Scuba earlier today. Like I like to also like know what's going on. Yeah. I like to know what's going on around the whole MLB, what teams are impacted by what, who's big, standouts, prospects, things like that. Because I think it's just the whole aspect of it is just amazing to really tap into. But to answer your question, so I think that's good. That's what you guys do as well. But to answer your question, yeah, I do think that we're starting to trend back downward, especially during this stretch. We played 13 games and already going into, I'm missing the stat here, but the last past 13 games, we were on and off. Like, it wasn't really consistent. We swept the Mets for our first time playing them, and then we tied up the series for the second time we played them. Phillies, we had potential to win yesterday, to take the series for the Phillies, and then we ended up just dropping it because our offense wasn't hot. And this new stretch leading into the All-Star break is something that we need to have just in the front forward of our mind, as far as, okay, what do we need to do to go ahead and spec this up, and then start making the changes to go ahead and get stronger for the second half. So like you said, I feel like Michael Harris hasn't been living up to his expectations at all. They finally benched him. I think earlier in the season they had him in the front hold of the lineup, and then Snicker moved them back to the 7-8 hole, which has been working well for him. Trying to kind of move people around and seeing what works, what doesn't work. He still has a tendency to do that pretty often. Even when it comes to Sean Murphy and Drake Baldwin, Drake Baldwin's been raking and doing amazing.
Yeah.
Sean Murphy, for when he first got here, he was great, and then after a while, he kind of wasn't doing too great, and now he's back to doing great again. So it's like, okay, is there a way we can get both of them out there again? Because I know when Marcel was hurt, during I think the Toronto series, they ended up having Baldwin as DH and Murphy as catcher, and then they would switch him out during that series, and
Mhm.
that was decent. I think in that series we didn't end up winning, but that was a decent experiment to have. So it's like, could that be a possibility to have out there? Um,
Interesting.
it's just a lot of moves I feel like that needs to be made, a lot of experimentation that needs to be happening, but we don't have time to do that.
I
Uh,
got you.
yeah, I feel like we're not in a point, like I said earlier, where we're like, okay, it's so early. We do still have a lot more games to play, but not as much as before. It's like we're starting to wind on down. To that we're past the halfway mark now, with 2 games past the halfway mark. So we
Right.
need to start making some tough decisions, benching people when needed, and going and start putting out people that we weren't considering putting out if they're doing well and performing to their expectations. But yeah, I do feel like after Cassell got on the IO list, we're starting to kind of trend back downward. And it's like, okay, so what are we doing? Are we just a bad baseball team at this
Mhm.
point?
Mhm.
Like, what is it? Are we actually bad? Are we actually just playing subpar and not
Right.
competitive enough? Or are we just, is something just not clicking? Because I feel like earlier in the season, something just wasn't clicking, and then it finally did, but not consistently. And that seems to be the story of the season. It's just offense lacking and consistency is lacking, and that's our top two. Even bring in our prospect Didier Fuentes. He's good. He has great potential, but he's just not ready right now. Especially when we're already experimenting with the offense and its shakiness. Bringing in a pitcher who doesn't really have enough command right now, control at the mound
Mhm.
is not really going to help it. And I wonder if the Braves have a dominant leadership aspect to them when Chris Sale is down.
See that? So this is. I have a two-part question. This is the final question for me. Ivan, I don't know if you have,
Yeah, I only have one more. Go ahead.
but I have. It's a two-parter for me. One, Brian Snitker seems to have indicated early in the season he's going to hang it up. He's been with the Braves for almost 40 years. He's been in the organization a long time. With Brian Snitker hanging it up, and with the Braves seeming to be in a transitional phase to some degree, one, do you just cut bait with Alex Anthopoulos now and let a new GM with a new voice and a new vision come into the organization and start from scratch and move a lot of these pieces? Because the one thing that I will say is I feel like a lot of these guys need a change of scenery. So it's like, is Alex Anthopoulos the guy to lead that next era of Brave baseball? Because he did give Michael Harris the extension. He gave Austin Riley the extension. He gave Acuna and Albies extensions. Like,
Mhm.
this team just seems to be comfortable with, we'll turn on with the Braves. We've been around for a while. So is a new voice needed both in the managerial chair and also in the front office? And if so, do you have names in mind, or who would you like to see take those positions if you can put two names, from top of mind?
Ooh, that's a that's a good question. Um, I can't think. Well, yes, I do think that there needs to be a new voice in a managerial chair. Front office, I'm not necessarily sure because I feel like Alex Anthopoulos at times makes smart moves that we don't understand at the moment, and then later on, like realize why he did them. So it's like I feel like a little bit longer for him might do some good as long as he knows what to do coming up for this trade deadline. Because I feel like that's when it's going to be the test of like, okay, do you know how to perhaps turn the season around, or if not turn it around specifically, because it is still up to the players to perform. Can you at least make an attempt that had great potential to get to turn around?
Mm-hmm.
Now, when it comes to the managerial chair, I think that Brian Snicker is one of the greatest, managers in the game. I think he does a really great job in the past. Now, I do feel like there needs to be a new voice when it comes to who I would like to see in that position. I don't know because I feel like there's so much that needs to be changed.
Mm-hmm.
We had a hitting coach a year or two ago, ended up firing him, got Tim Hires, and I feel like we can't always blame it on the coaching, but there is a big aspect of it. That's the leadership. That's the leader figure that you're looking to. So I think that's a tricky one because it's like, do I need to change the head managerial position, or do we need to go ahead and move some people around when it comes to position
Right.
managers? So I think that's one that I feel like is a little bit more in discovery. I was thinking about that a few days ago. Like if they were to move Ryan Snicker, because people were already talking about, oh, he's about to get fired, he's about to get canned. After which series was it? The Diamondbacks, I think, was a series where we ended up blowing that 9-run lead in the ninth.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
was that's why I can't even be comfortable when we're leading up into the ninth, because I'm like, no, because they did that one time. I can't even be happy and excited because I'm like, we gotta wait till it's not over till it's over now. I'm not even. I used to be a person where I'm like, okay, 6, 7, maybe 8th inning. If I see we're leading by a certain amount of runs, we're good, we're safe. Now I'm like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. Because of that one game, even getting shut out 13-0 a few games ago, that was another awakening. Like, so what's going on? Like, are we having leadership? Are we talking about this? Are we just saying? Because one thing I did ask Snicker, when they won, they got their first sweep against the Twins. I think during Easter. And I asked him, what is one thing that you're instilling in the guys as far as starting each new day? Like after y'all probably didn't have a great game the day prior, like what is something that you're instilling for them to make sure they kind of look at it with new eyes for the next game and go ahead and start a fresh start new? And he was saying, oh, well, I don't have to say anything. Like they already have that all instilled in them. They already know how to wake up and go ahead and start fresh and have a new mindset for the game. So I'm like, that's great. But I do think that there needs to be like a new, I guess, change of mindset. Like that's, you already have that. That's a nice foundation to have. But now let's have a new game plan going into it. And I'm sure they do have that. But if it's not working, it's time to go ahead and switch things up. It's time to go ahead and have a new chat. We need somebody yelling, So I feel
Yeah.
like there definitely needs to be changes. It's hard to say what exactly needs to be changed in order for this to happen, because at the end of the day it's still a mindset, mental thing. So even if we change the whole managerial office, the whole front office, if the players aren't adapting well to it, they're still going to be playing the same way they're playing. They're still dealing with the same issues of consistency in offense and consistency in pitching, or having the right pitchers available. We need bullpen depth. We don't have enough bullpen depth when our starting pitchers are getting hurt, and we definitely need more starting pitching. But are we going to spend that money to get them? I think it's a big question as well.
It's
Yeah,
tough.
of course.
He's in
So
he's in a
go
tough
ahead.
spot.
I have one last question on my behalf, and then as I mentioned a couple minutes ago, if you mind sticking around to maybe answer like 2 questions from the chat. So my final question, because we haven't gotten into this, right? And by the way, for those of you who are watching, shout out to all of you. We appreciate the fact that you guys are enjoying tonight's interview with Micahya. In the description down below, we have Micahya's TikTok, and we also have the link to her podcast, which is called The Athlete Section. I wanted to make sure that we left some room in there for you to talk about how that came about, and what it is that you do exactly on the Athlete Section.
Yeah, so the athlete section happened. That was kind of what I alluded to a little bit earlier, but didn't really go into detail with it. Wherein my parents were kind of like just trying to help me get through the feeling of I graduated and I don't have a job. It sucks. It feels like, oh my gosh, like I'm a failure. Like I got a degree, nothing to show for it. But
Right.
it's hard. It's hard in this market. Even now, I'm a freelancer. I have jobs, to write, but it's not like my main, like the career I'm like looking for, working for just yet. I'm still working for it, and know it's gonna happen in the right timing. So I'm not stressing too much on it. But at the time, it felt like I'm seeing not the fruits of my labor come to pass. And so I was trying to see if I wanted my TikTok to be something with sports, or what I wanted to do to create that and open that avenue for myself. And I took a podcast class my senior year of college, and it was cool. I think I did about volleyball because I really enjoyed volleyball. But then something occurred to me. I don't know if I saw an ad or somebody said something about a podcast, and I just thought, like, why don't I just start a podcast? Like, why don't I just start a podcast and just interview athletes? And I try to narrow it down. Okay, maybe I'll do college athletes and maybe some high school athletes. There's a women's basketball player I knew at Georgia, in passing. And so I DM'd her. As soon as the thought hit my head, I was like, hi, I'm thinking about starting a podcast. It's going to be called, I had the name ready. I made a little logo on Canva. And I said, okay, I have a concrete idea of what I want to do. Now I gotta see when I want to start it. How often do I want to do it? I need to have guests already ready because it's guest focused, guest based, and so I needed to have that plan. Once I had that plan, in like the next 30 minutes, I DM'd her and asked her, "Hey, do you want to be my first guest on my podcast? Thinking about starting in the next 2 weeks or so." And she's like, "Yeah, that's fine." I was like, she said, "Yes, okay, cool. So let me get some equipment, let me get a microphone, let me get see what I need to do to stream on here. Let me look do some research. Let me just at least got the ball rolling. My parents were a big. I test a lot of it to them because they really pushed me in that direction of just striving for better, striving for the potential that they saw in me that I probably couldn't see at the time. So I shout out to them because that was an amazing, I guess, eye-opening moment for me to say, okay, let me go ahead and get this started. I don't want to just sit around waiting for a job and just applying. Like, let me go ahead and start getting some stuff on my resume and bring some things to the table of what I know I can do and what I enjoy doing. I enjoy interviewing athletes. So I just created a list. I just looked at a whole bunch of like athletes on TikTok, on Instagram, Twitter, and just DM'd them, had a little pitch ready, asked ChatGPT, how do I need to say this? To make sure it sounded professional enough. So, because they don't have a proof of like this podcast. I didn't have a first episode or anything. So it's surprising people were saying yes, and I was like, wow. Like before I knew it, I went from okay, I need to have at least 5 guests in this month to I have 20 people lined up for.
Wow.
I literally have a whole list on my notes. I haven't deleted it yet, just so I can kind of see like how quick that happened and kind of put that in my remembrance. But yeah, I literally had people ready, and schedule. I had their emails ready. I said, okay, I'm gonna send you a link to this. I had a platform ready, and then it just kind of went from there. I started doing it twice a week, and then I kind of scaled it down to once a week, and then I stopped it for the month of April so I can restart it. I want to kind of restructure it and reconfigure what I want it to be for this upcoming school semester for students. I was actually supposed to be doing it this whole summer, and I have not been because baseball has been taking up most of my time.
Hey, at least you're still working. That matters.
Right, still working, still coinciding with it. But yeah, I do want to kind of recreate it and make it a little bit bigger and get it out there, work on marketing. It's kind of like you guys are team working up, but like you have people, both y'all are reaching out to people and having the graphics and having the news and also the stats and the whole tech side of things. And then for me, I had to kind of like learn how to do it myself. Like, okay, I got to create the social medias for it. I need to create the clips for it. I need to make sure I have graphics. I need to reach out to these people. Like, it's a lot. It's not just to grab a mic and go.
You're a one-man team, right? Because and I, we at least could bounce ideas off of each other. If I can't get to something, he does it. If not, vice versa. But listen, we understand exactly what it feels like, especially when you're a smaller platform, right? Because as I told you earlier tonight, the show and being on YouTube and on social media, we've only been doing that now for a year and a half, right? So Stefan mentioned something that was key earlier tonight, saying that a lot of things we're learning on the fly, right? And I'm sure you could relate to that. So listen, I want you to know, Micahya, that you are not alone. And word for word, we understand exactly where you are coming from, all right?
We're doing it. We're doing it right now. Like we're literally doing this right now. And so we get it. We got a couple questions in the chat.
Yeah, Stefan, go ahead, pull out like 2. And then I guess we'll wrap up.
I'm gonna go back to back. This is a question for you. I don't know if you
Shout
can
out
see
to
it on
Rick,
the
by the way. Rick is big support of the show.
Yeah, man. So how did have you received any pushback on your journey, and do you have a favorite journalist, and does being a woman of color, how did it affect the journey? Does it make it harder for you? I know it's a 3-part question, but like
no, that's perfect. That's a great question. So I do have a favorite journalist, Taylor Rooks. I really enjoy watching her. She's my favorite. I feel like she's able to connect with athletes on a deeper level where they want to like tell her everything. And that's the impact that I want to bring to where people feel comfortable enough to talk to me where, yeah, I'm going to get the facts straight. I'm going to make sure I do your story justice, but you want to tell me, you want to just be able to talk to me like freely and just let me tell your story and trust me enough to put your story out there. I like the way that she carries herself with that and also just has that power. So I really take after her or look up to her when it comes to journalism skills. And there's others too, Malika Andrews, Maria Taylor. Like there's a lot of other great ones as well. But yeah, she's definitely one of my favorites, my top favorite. When it comes to me being a Black woman in this industry, did I receive any pushback? No, surprisingly. I want to say not yet, but I don't want to speak that like it was gonna happen. But I haven't received any as of yet. Surprisingly. And that's something I thought I would, especially when I started putting myself on TikTok. I was like, oh, I don't know how it's gonna be. And there will be some people, in the comments being like, oh, like if I do like a ranking or something for my All-Star ballot, like, you don't know ball, and why would you put him there? Why'd you put but
We get it. We get it
We get
sometimes
it.
too. Because as I
yeah.
told you before, we do this, right? Where we record for an hour or so, and then every other day after that is simply just clips of that 1 hour show that we did. And depending on what it is that we put out, people come to us the same way. These guys don't know ball, this and that. Like that is what you think. And I'm sure you feel that same exact way.
Yeah, so true. But the good thing is I haven't gotten a lot of it, but I know like there's people they just want to say they don't even listen to the full of your video. They'll just be listening to one thing and be like, wait a minute, let me go ahead and say this because it's social media and I can say it. And I'm like, you're wrong, loud and wrong. But I mean, and also I think one thing, like we talked about the confidence aspect of it. I didn't really start getting into baseball for real until this year, like right before spring training. That's when I really started getting into it and kind of how to teach myself the things I didn't know. Followed the Braves. I think somebody's asking about the World Series homer with Jorge Soler. I I didn't even watch the full World Series of 2021, surprisingly. Unfortunately, I went back now to watch highlights to get the historical aspects of it. But I followed the Braves loosely after we went to the parade, which is really fun. I followed the Braves loosely after that. And in 2023, that's when I keyed in a little bit more. But this is my first year actually really getting into it. It's just a full, not just the Braves, but the full MLB and saying, wow, this is like amazing. So I think I just really astonished myself of how much I can learn in such a little bit of time. I think it's because I really enjoyed it. But I sometimes bring that energy. I think especially when I first started, I brought that energy of, well, no, y'all don't hound me. I'm new to this now. Don't not too much. And then once I started having more of a no, like I know what I'm here. If I'm
Yeah.
gonna talk about it, I know what I'm talking about. Let me go ahead and start presenting this information that I learned to you guys, so that way we can have a discussion about it. I can deepen my knowledge for it. I started becoming a lot more confident in it, and so to answer your question, no, I didn't receive any pushback. But there are people who will comment certain things here and there because they see a woman and again a Black woman up there, and even when I'm covering the games in person, you would be the only Black woman there most of the time. Like 9 times out of 10, I'm the only one there. But that doesn't make me feel weird or anything because I think I expected it because I don't see a lot of Black women there are some out there, don't get me wrong. We even have a group of community on TikTok of Black women and women of color and people of color in general who like baseball. But as far as them covering the game, you don't see a whole bunch of them. So I want to be able to have that, be that face and be able to open the door if that is in the cards for me. And so I just look at it like, hey, like I'm here. I made it here. Like God's giving me this gift. God's giving me this talent and this a little glimpse of these blessings. Let me go ahead and make the most of it and show them why I'm here and keep enjoying it along the way. So yeah.
Right. I mean, listen, I wouldn't be surprised if we look up in a couple of years and we're able to talk about the fact that you were one of the leaders of the new school, right? When it comes to getting women of color, not only into sports, but baseball. Because one of the things that I did mention at the top of tonight's show was that, one, you're a baseball fan, right? Baseball is a sport that not a lot of people like, especially when you compare it to basketball, football, and some of these other sports. And then you're also a woman, right? So those two things really stand out, I must say. One last question here in the comments. We have one here from Chad. He says, what advice would you have for those looking to get into or get back into journalism?
Ooh, that's a great question. All these are great questions, but that's a good question. What advice to look to get into or get back into? Really depending on what type of journalism you want to do, especially if it's sports journalism. Definitely watch games, watch how other interviewers or watch how other interviews go, or other journalists are asking their questions. See if there's like similarities in the way that they present themselves and the way that they ask the questions that you might have. Things you can take from it, things you can learn from it, interviewing techniques and skills. Also just I think really just studying it. A lot of times, me just studying the game and then also watching the game, seeing different things I like and don't like, practice sitting in front of the camera or actually sit in front of the camera, record yourself talking about it, and see how you would present that information. Read an article and write a few keynotes down. That's what I do for my TikToks. I write a few keynotes down, take some things from it, things that you thought were important, and see how you would present that to your audience if you were to do that. And if you're trying to do writing as well, look at a few things, look up a few clips and videos and see how you would write that story. As far as building your resume and everything, I would say just get started. Apply to different jobs, go on LinkedIn, go on Twitter, go on Google, Indeed, all that great stuff, Teamwork Online, and look and apply to jobs and look for different ways to just kind of enhance your resume. A lot of the times I need to go back and tweak mine because I didn't put a lot of the stuff that I was doing on my own on my resume because I thought, okay, that's not like real work. That's just stuff that I'm doing. But a lot of these companies actually want to see, especially in journalism, it's such a tough field. And it's a lot tougher than I thought, especially sports journalism, because everybody's trying to get into it. And there's so many different aspects of journalism. There's social media, there's communications, there's actual PR. There's so many different aspects and subcategories that can go into it. So I feel like once you kind of keep and narrow down what you want to do, what you have more of a knack for, tailor your resume to that. And go ahead and start doing some of the things on your own. Even if you don't have a job right now, even if you don't have the opportunity, find some ways that you can present yourself to these companies. So that way they can see, oh, you're a self-starter. Oh, you bring this to the table. Like, we're not just relying on things you've done in the past, relying on what you say you can do, but we're actually seeing your portfolio. Build a portfolio of different things that you do. If you have the amenities to go out and interview some athletes, some youth athletes, and I need to take my own advice, but if you need to go out, interview some athletes in different high schools or go to different colleges, you might give you a press pass. If you contact their SID department, you might have those opportunities to go ahead and get started and have your own basis and have your own media company with that. So I just say look up ways or just find ways that you can do stuff on your own if you don't have the opportunity yet, because that goes a long way with being a self-starter and you're self-motivated. And companies like to see that so they know that you can bring this to the table if they were to hire you on. So that there's a lot more tips, but I think that's one thing that I started learning, that you can't just, it's more than just applying to jobs, but also reaching out to people. After you apply to jobs, find a facilitator of those jobs, find a director of those jobs and reach out to them, shoot them a message. Hi, I applied to this job. I wanted to know if we can have a quick coffee chat or have a quick call just to kind of talk about the expectations and a role about it. Sometimes that actually got me more positions than just applying to jobs. Me reaching out to people who are over those jobs, even if I don't see they have a job opening, reaching out to those people, sending a nice cold email, professional email about who I am, giving them my resume and portfolio off the jump, then they're able to see, oh, hold on, let me see who this person is. And even if they don't give you something right away, they might keep you in mind, especially if you follow up. So that's a lot. Yeah. That was a lot of information, but
no, it's okay. We appreciate it. Well, there you have it.
Sure.
Shout out to you. Go ahead, Stephen. Go ahead.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. We had a blast doing this with you. We want to have you back if the Braves make the postseason or during the postseason in general. We'd love to have you back. Your thoughts on the season, your thoughts on the playoffs.
Definitely in the off season as well, because at that point, there's no games to watch, right? So why not talk about the Braves in the off season?
Definitely.
Before you go, Micahya, I do want to thank you on my behalf for, of course, giving us an hour of your time. I think we went a little over, but hopefully you didn't have an issue with that because we certainly appreciated it. Shout out to all of you who tuned in tonight. We're not leaving just yet, but of course, Micahya, we don't want to keep you here all night. But to make things, just a little fun, not that the interview wasn't fun itself, but I got to leave you with this. Who is your favorite Braves player of all time?
I think, okay. Someone else asked me this too, and I feel like the answer changes with the more history that I look into. Not the Let's Go Mets. I see a comment.
So let's do this to make it easier. since you've been alive, right? Because we don't have to go too far back.
No, yeah, since you've been covering the team, like who's your favorite Brave to cover? Like
Chris Sale.
wow,
Okay.
This is why I say I'm glad he's not going anywhere. He besides Sean Murphy, he was the second player I've ever interviewed, and he was very like he gave me a really good quote about because he didn't have a really good start that day. He was just talking about his game. I think I asked him about his game plan on how he's going to move forward. He gave me a really great quote, and I just really like the way that he looks at the game. Like he's trying to get ready. He's trying, not saying that no one else is, but the way he's trying to improve and the way he takes it personal and takes it out with his pitching, his sliders are wicked. I really enjoy him on the mound. So I'll say Chris Sale. I just started collecting baseball cards, and I have a lot of Chris Sale cards. He was the first one that I got. So yeah, watching him just take the mound and dominate, it definitely is crushing that he's on IL list, but hopefully he's able to recover and get back to normal and be that ace that we know he can be. But I also really, historical wise, I really enjoy watching Greg Maddux, a few of his plays, especially his first game with the Braves when he had to play against his former team, the Cubs. I was like, wow, this is a this is a treat. I think I did a video on that because I thought that was so interesting to watch a documentary. But I really do enjoy watching the professor highlights as well.
There you go.
Right. Well, thank you for sharing that. As I mentioned, we couldn't let you go without asking you that final question. But again, thank you, Micahya, and we look forward to doing this again in the near future, of course.
For sure, we'll do it again. Sorry if I was talking so fast. I could hear myself, and I was
no, it's okay. Don't worry about it.
You're fine.
Listen, next time you come on the show, I'm sure you'll feel more comfortable.
Yes.
Now that you know how we go about the show, and listen, if there's anything that you want to kind of like have in mind before you get on here, let us know. You know, we could get into that as well. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Good. I enjoyed it. This is really fun.
Thank you, Micahya. I'm glad you feel that way.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We'll talk soon.
And again, make sure you guys go ahead, check her out on TikTok in the description down below, and follow her. Well, subscribe rather to the athlete section on YouTube.
Yes, follow the athlete section on YouTube. We're on Instagram. You can check us out on Spotify. Apple Podcasts, YouTube. You can stream the old episodes if you missed any. And then my TikTok is ITS by MC, I think. But yeah, they have it in the description. And the same thing is for YouTube, just with a 1 at the end. So yeah, talk baseball pretty much every day on there. And not just Braves, it's all MLB like they do as well. So I enjoy it a lot.
Thank you, Micahya.
Thank you guys. Have a great night.
You too.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Give it up.
All right. Yeah, man. I hope you guys enjoyed that. We're gonna spend a little more time here with you guys. Today's one of those lengthy shows that we haven't done in a while, but hopefully you guys are missing back when we did like those longer shows. But before we get into, I know Stefan wanted to get into a topic briefly. Before we get into what we want to share with you guys later tonight. I haven't said this yet, but while we can now, make sure you guys go follow us, right? On TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, all three. You can find us at 27outs 3C. And of course, make sure you guys are definitely hitting that thumbs up on this video. And if you're new here, thank you for stopping by. That's Stefan. Sure. I'm Ivan. This is 27 Outs Live. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And we hope you are enjoying tonight's show thus far. Stefan, I know there's something you wanted to get into.
We're gonna be real brief with this.
Yeah, we can keep it brief for sure. Yeah,
real brief with this. So it came out today that Rob Manfred, the commissioner, put out a stern statement to the players in regards of trust me, I know what I'm doing. Your constituents, your bosses don't seem to have your best interest at heart, and this is why it got me thinking. So Ivan, I sent you the link, and I was reading it on the way to handling some business earlier today. And I'm like, this is a little weird for him to come out and say this right now. The two sides are not speaking. Stuff is contentious between the players union and the MLBPA and Major League Baseball itself. So I'm like, why would this statement be out right now? And then an article comes out about, I want to say maybe 4:30, 5 o'clock, because I sent you a screenshot of that as well. And I'm like, Now it makes sense. You're trying to renegotiate with ESPN for television rights and putting more rights into the TV. And when it hit me, he wants the TV agreement to line up with his expansion plans and a year before he retires. He wants everything to coincide with each other. And I'm like, this is interesting because what it basically is showing me is you got a carrot to dangle at these players. Yeah, you really want to give up all this television money? You really want to let go of the idea that you're leaving millions of dollars on the table with this new television money? And that's for the first time since covering this lockout or whatever we want to call it. For the first time, I thought we may not have a lockout after all. Because when you start talking about television money and how it elevates the game from a financial standpoint, it made me think Rob Manfred may be smarter than what we give him credit for. Am I off base in thinking that? Well, did you think the same thing, or am I crazy?
No, you're not crazy, because obviously it stems from something, as you said. But I am a little thrown off because I'm surprised that the person who was almost guaranteeing the fact that we were going to be headed to a lockout is now saying that there's a possibility that maybe it doesn't even happen after all.
Which is crazy to say, though.
And obviously, I understand, why it is that you say something like that now, especially when you consider the fact that some things came out earlier today, as you mentioned. But I'm still not that I want to be without baseball, because obviously that's like worst case scenario. Mm-hmm. But I'm not moving on from what we thought all along. Not just yet.
No, me neither. I just think it's interesting, and when it comes out. Because they're going to all be meeting at the All-Star game. The draft is in a week and a half. So it's interesting that these two tidbits of news were announced right now, knowing the draft is next week, the All-Star game, the home run derby. You want to drum up some positive press. Everybody's been talking about the lockout and what a work stoppage would look like. So it's funny how the commissioner comes out and says basically trust him, and that your own union is screwing you, and that they don't have their house in order. And then you see why that was said, because you're dangling the ultimate carrot, which is financial security. Are you really going to give up this television money? ESPN might be back in the boat with us. We're negotiating with NBC. We're negotiating with Fox. We're negotiating with Apple TV.
But here's the thing, though, right? Because I like you said, they're in negotiations with other companies as well. But let's say the ESPN thing is something that comes to fruition once again, right? And there's still a possibility that could, definitely happen. But my whole thing is, if you're ESPN, right, what are you going to do differently now that you have this on the table again? Like, are we going to start to see baseball tonight how we did once upon a time? And it doesn't have to be to that extent, because I know baseball tonight was definitely bigger than it is now. But is baseball tonight going to be on more often, right? Do you kind of force Stephen A. and First Take to now make baseball a daily segment now, where maybe it's not Stephen A. who doesn't talk about it, and you bring on other people who do work for ESPN to come in for that baseball segment?
Eduardo Perez, right. You bring in the guys that know what they're talking about onto your channel. And here's what I'm going to tell you. I don't know why these networks don't do this. Cross-promote. Bring somebody on MLB Network on First Take. Bring somebody from the game that knows what they're talking. Let one of these GMs like a Dan O'Dowd or somebody like that knows what they're talking about. Let these two networks kind of coexist to be able to grow your game. Mm-hmm. I don't understand why there's not. I'm going to be honest. Trevor May should be on somebody's show. Trevor May is one of the smartest guys I heard talk about the game. He should be on somebody's platform.
He's got his own YouTube channel, I believe.
Right. You should be tapping into that. You should be talking to a guy like Andrew McCutcheon, who seems to want to talk about, his at-bats and the baseballs and how things are changing and the way the game is moving. Like, I just don't understand why they're not doing a better job of trying to solve the issue of, first of all, the unpopularity, and two, why the game is still stuck in these sort of like traditional, old school, this is what it is and we're not changing it.
Right. And that's a great point. I'm glad you bring that up, especially when you talk about cross promoting, because, for a platform like us, it's very difficult. One, we're small. We don't have the budget. We don't have a production team. We don't have what a company like ESPN has and some of these other companies have to offer, right? So it's a lot easier for them to be able to reach out to a Trevor May or anybody else who covers the game, to be able to come on the platform. Definitely. To help, broaden like the audience when it comes to whoever it is that tunes into that specific channel.
Like Albert Pujols, having a guy like him up there, having a guy like, I'm sorry, why is CC Sabathia not hired by one of these networks?
By now, yeah.
Let him show up in some friggin' sweats, some Jordan sweats, some shorts with a pair of J's on.
Somebody better do it before the Yes Network does it, because I wouldn't be surprised if they do it at some point.
Somebody better do it before we do
it. Right.
Know what I mean? Because let this budget get right.
Right.
We hitting the Rock Nation offices right now.
Yeah.
Yo, we want your man up here.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You gotta humanize this game. Humanize it. And I think these networks don't do a good job of that. But I rambled on enough.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. Shrek, I saw your comments here. Are you saying that? Oh, my mouse died, by the way. Let me charge this real quick for about a minute or two. Let me ramble here to kill some time. Sorry, guys. So Shrek, are those comments there? Is this because you no longer think that there's gonna be a lockout as well, or are you just trying to be funny? Because I don't know if you're trolling, bro, but I also don't want to gloss over the fact that, maybe you genuinely do believe that there will no longer be a lockout.
Yep.
Sox fan for life. What's good, man? I don't think you were here on Thursday, but glad that you stopped by.
Sox fan, what's good, bro? How's everything? Hope you're well.
Chad says that yes, should have been picked up CC. Yeah, man, listen, that's why I mentioned it, because I wouldn't put it past Yes.
I don't know if a guy like CC wants to do the Yes Network. I think a guy like CC would want to do a watch along on a platform like this where he could cuss, he could speak his mind, he could tell you what he really thinks.
Speaking of CC, why'd he stop his podcast with what's his
Ryan
guy's
Rucco?
Name? Yeah, I used to watch that from time to time.
So
I know they're busy people, so I don't want to sit here and act like they're just home 24/7. But I thought they were gonna be in that, for the long haul.
Oh, you went to Mohegan. I see you. You out here.
For life is always somewhere, bro.
What happens is that, number one, the advertising dollars probably run out. CC's probably like, I don't want to do this for a while. I've been retired. I don't want to get on the daily schedule. So he probably like, no, let's do something different. And Ruco's calling everything under the sun. WNBA games, Yankee games. He does fights for the zone. Ruco's everywhere.
He does nets too.
He does the net games. Rucco is your man is everywhere. He's the world traveler. He got more shit. He got more gigs than the federal government out here. The guy's where he works.
Right, right.
But I would want to see CC on a panel with, dudes that played.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like I'm gonna be honest. Why is CC not on a show like Foul Territory?
True.
Like, word up. You got Ty Frazier and all these dudes and Cameron Maben. Listen, two guys I'd love to see up there, if it's me. Dontrell Willis and CC Sabathia. Get those.
Dontrell already works somewhere. Isn't he with like Fox Sports, I believe, right?
He does Fox Sports, but I'm talking about just on an open forum where he could just speak his mind, where it's not just based in statistics and pitch angles and pitch shape and this and that. Because he calls the game and he does a really good job.
Yeah.
I just think we have to do a better job of allowing these athletes to be more self-expressive.
That's why we have this platform right here. We aren't there yet, but the goal is to obviously be able to have certain people on here at some point that a lot of people dream of being able to speak to.
No doubt. Speaking of that,
yes. Speaking of that, so I'm gonna take a second here, real quick. Is this thing? Oh, there we go. I was waiting for my mouse to connect. I'm sorry, guys. Technical difficulties.
You good, brother.
I don't believe I've had my mouse die live on the air just yet. But I want to take a second real quick to share my screen, right? So before we actually share the news, I think it's only right that we hit one of these, right? I think it's fair.
We've been waiting for this.
Yes. So for those of you who have been paying attention to what we've been talking about on social media, obviously gearing up to tonight's interview with Micahya, shout out to her. And to those of you who enjoyed it, we've also been doing some other things behind the scenes, right? Because not everything could be shared with you guys right when we would like to do it. But of course, we're not withholding things, right? So with that being said, I want to share my screen because on next week's show, it will not be Monday at night. I'm sorry, guys. I know you guys are typically, here Mondays at 9. Obviously, that's what we're doing right now. But who we have joining us next week, Tuesday, rather, is somebody who we had to fit into their schedule. And it makes sense because, listen, when you work on, I guess, that level, it comes with the territory, right? You try to squeeze in other things if the opportunities do come your way. And thankfully, Stefan and I would like to share with you guys that on next week's show, again, not on Monday, but Tuesday night, rather, we are going to have WFAN's very own. And listen, some of you guys might even know him from his time with John Boy Media. I know he's big on Twitter. There's so many different ways for people to really know who he is. I don't really want to just say that he's a radio guy because prior to the radio, he had a huge audience on Twitter. That's where I stumbled upon him. As I mentioned, he used to do some work with John Boy Media. As we all know, John Boy Media is big in the baseball world now. But who here who's watching right now knows Keith McPherson? Does anybody know Keith McPherson? For those of you who are watching right now, that's who we are going to have on the show next week. Let me actually share this real quick with you guys. Let me see. If I hit this present, Stefan, that's how you do it, right?
Hit present, and then it should say hit share screen. Yeah.
All right. So can you guys see this? I believe you guys could see this because it says sharing this tab to StreamYard right now. So who knows this guy right here? If you know him, please comment in this comment section right now. How are you feeling? We've been able to get an opportunity to have Keith McPherson, as I mentioned, join the show next Tuesday. I think, listen, that is huge. Stefan and I are excited for this. We were excited as we were actually doing the prep work to be able to land him behind the scenes.
Just working on the idea of trying to get him.
Right. So I'm going to stop sharing, but yeah, we're going to have him on the show, guys. We hope you guys are looking forward to that. Stefan, I don't know if there's anything that you want to say about it before we spend some time on that. But
no, this took a lot of maneuvering and moving around and see if he could do this day and that day, and so we just we got him. Ivan did the grunt work, and then we were trying to coordinate schedules, and then he got back to us. He put us in his calendar, so we got him for next Tuesday. We are beyond excited. We are thrilled. Keith is, well known around these parts, but he's also well known in many different areas. So Keith McPherson will be live on 27 Outs next Tuesday.
Right. Well, I do want to say something, Stefan, because we got to be honest with the folks, right? These people are the people who make us who we are now. It won't be a live show, guys. I'm sorry to break it to you, but it will not be a live show because, as I mentioned, he's a busy guy. And for those of you who do keep up with Keith McPherson or know about what he does for WFAN on the airwaves, he works at night. And as you guys know, 27 Outs is a show that we do Monday nights at 9 p.m. But unfortunately, as I mentioned, he's a busy guy. So he sort of had to find some time to fit us in, for us to even be able to say that we're going to have him on the show next week. But what we're going to do is, we're going to have a conversation with him off the air. We're obviously going to record that for you guys. And then we're going to air it later that day for you guys to still be able to comment below any questions that you guys may have for Keith, because here's how Stefan and I are looking at it, right? Like, we're seeing this as the start of what's to come in the future.
Yeah,
right
for
now,
sure.
maybe I'm getting ahead of myself by saying that, right? But Stefan and I are two people who have really high hopes when it comes to this show and what we do it to be, not only now, but in the future as well. So listen, we're gonna have Keith on next week. Maybe Keith is nice enough to come on, who knows, later this year in October in the off season. Like, that's really what we have in mind when it
Yeah,
comes to 7 outs, right? So we hope you guys are going to be able to stick around for that. We hope you guys enjoy the hell out of it, because we sure are. We're not going to be talking to him for too long. He's a busy guy. It'll probably be like maybe 30 minutes if we're lucky to get that in. But within those 30 minutes, or however long we speak to him for, just
hmm
know that, we're going to try to ask as much as we can. We obviously want to talk about his career, how he got to where he's at today. Um, and then, of course, we got to, sneak in a couple of baseball questions, right? I
for
mean, it's
sure,
only
for
right.
sure.
We can't just have him on the show and then he just walks away without talking about baseball. We can't let that happen, right?
No, we got a couple things lined up, but listen, we're looking forward to it. We hope you guys enjoy it. We're gonna enjoy doing it. We enjoy doing the show. If you haven't already, hit the like, hit the subscribe button on the YouTube, uh, and tell your friends about this interview. Let them know we did really good interview, and try and see if others will consume it. Let them know. And also, you already know, clips and shorts will be out,
Yeah,
and there's going to be a ton of promo on this Keith McPherson interview. So stop by the YouTube, stop by the TikTok, stop by all that, because the promo ain't stopping. So
for sure. One thing that, I want to share, Stefan, you say this a lot, and I think it's very important that we mention it now more than ever. Guys, I know we talk about, if you have any friends who are into baseball, tell them about the show, and still do that, right? Because we want, more traffic. But more importantly, with who we're going to have on the show next Tuesday, please, if you have a friend who's into baseball, if you know anybody who may know of Keith McPherson, tell them that we're going to have him here on the show so
yeah,
that
man,
they do stop by, so that they do check it out. Because as I mentioned, this is something that hopefully, we build a relationship with Keith, and we'll be able to have him on not only next Tuesday, but again in the future, so.
for sure. Anyway, guys, we had a blast doing this. So we went longer than we wanted to, but we had a blast doing this. You guys have a wonderful evening. Ivan, any last thoughts before we get on out of here?
No, I'm good, man. As always, make sure you guys follow us on TikTok. I think we're at like 90 followers or something like that. So we're almost at 100. Make sure you guys go ahead and follow us on TikTok.
And
Also, what are you going to say?
once again, tell a friend to tell a friend. Keith McPherson on 27 outs next Tuesday.
Right. You guys are going to see more of that on the TikTok, on the Twitter, on the Instagram, everything that we have. We're going to put some posts on the YouTube channel. Maybe Keith is also nice enough to be able to share it on his platforms. As I mentioned, he's big on Twitter. Maybe he shares it on his IG as well. So we're looking forward to, we look forward to every show, right? I don't want to sit here and lie to you guys, but I would be lying if I said next week is not a big deal.
Yeah, next week is
so
a huge deal.
with that being said, I got nothing else to say, man. Thank you guys for stopping by tonight. I had a lot of fun.
And let's thank the guest, Micahya Costen, for giving us an hour of her time. She was great tonight. If you missed any part of the interview, go back and listen to that. Clips will be up in the morning with parts of the interview. But Micahya was great, so thanks again to her. And we ain't got to go home, but we got to get the hell up out of here. So peace.